start off with the prayers. Please chant with me. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. How are things?
Om Tat
Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
Okay, so we are still at the 12th verse. Okay, so don't lose heart. We'll complete it today. So let us chant that 12th verse again. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Natvevaham Jatu Nasam
Natevaham Jatu Nasam
Natvam Neme Janadhipaha Nachaiva na bhavishyamaha Sarve vayamatah param. Okay, so I'm just meeting you all. And we have been talking about the essence of the verses from verse number 12 to 25. The various descriptions, the various ways in which Atma is described. And I'll briefly recall that before we move on. So we said Atma was aprameya, not an object of knowledge. Atma was nitya, which is eternal, not subject to destruction. Atma was nirvikaraha, not subject to change. Atma was sarvagataha, present everywhere, all pervading. And Atma was akarta, not a doer of action, and therefore only a bhokta, not a experiencer of the fruits of the action. This was the essence which we have talked about. Now look at the verse. Now we are coming to the verse now, after 2 classes. Okay. Sa na tu evam jatu nasam. So I was not there in the past. Okay. Na asam. This is not true. So this is a double negative. Na tu aham jatu nasam. Na tu eva aham jatu nasam. I was not there in the past. This is not true. Na tvam. You have to add. You were not there. The fact that you were not there in the past, that also is not true. And na janadhipaha. The fact that the kings were not there in the past. Janadhipaha is kings. Jana adhikaris. So these were also not this is also not true. In short, he was saying that the fact that I was not there in the past is not true, which means what? I was there in the past. When he says natvam, the fact that you were not there in the past, that is also not true. So double negative again. So what is the conclusion? You were there in the past. Similarly with Janadipa also. If you are saying the kings were not there in the past, that is also not true. That means the kings were also there in the past. So, hey Arjuna, your thinking that you and I and these kings and all were not there in the past and are present only now, that is not true. In short, Atma existed in the past. Then, what about the future? He says, na chaiva na bhavishyamaha. We will not there be in the future. Iti na. Iti na means it's a double negative again. This is also not true. And therefore, all of us will be in the future also. So this line basically means that in the past also all of us existed, in the future also all of us existed. Okay, you will notice that there is no discussion about the present. Why is that so? Why does Krishna not talk about the present? He has talked about the past and the future. Why does he not talk about the present?
Because present actually is just that moment, and that really does not exist. It's either the past or the future. Present is
Because our mind is always stuck in either the past or in the future. We never live in the moment.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes,
Because
it's
they are there in the present moment
They are
already.
there in the they are there in at present time. The body, they have a body.
Yeah.
So he is talking about past and the future because there could be a doubt about whether I existed in the past, and there could be a doubt about whether I will exist in the future, but nobody has a doubt whether I'm existing in the present, right? I don't have to ask you, oh, look, am I there in the present? No, you don't have to ask me, Kiravaji, am I existing? No, right? You are sure that you are there in the present. There is no doubt about your present existence. Therefore, Krishna doesn't talk about it because it takes it for granted. Since he is talking to Arjuna, both Arjuna and he do not have any doubt that they are existing right now in the present. The doubt is in the past, and the doubt itself, having the doubt that I was in the past, I may not have been there in the past, and having the doubt that I may not there be in the future. Remember that doubt itself is a proof of your existence in the present, because only if you exist you can have a doubt, and therefore Krishna doesn't talk about the present at all. Okay, then he says sarve vayamatah param, atah param, all of us will continue to be, we will continue to exist. We have been in the past, we are there in the present, we will be there in the future, and therefore we will continue to exist. And therefore Shankara translates this word jatu, na tvevaham jatu. Okay, what is the meaning of jatu? Shankara says it should be kadachit, at any time. And therefore the translation is, it is not that I did not exist at any time, and it is not that I will not exist at any time. So from here, remember the 6 features which I talked about, aprameya, etc. From this discussion, which of those features is being talked about?
Nitya.
Nitya, right? So this verse is talking about the Nitya part of it. Atma is eternal, Nitya, right? This is the meaning of this verse. Now we will look at the next one. So let us chant the next one. Please unmute yourself. Dehinosmin yatha dehe. Kaumaram yauvanam jara. Tatha dehantara praptihi. Dhirastatra na muhyati. Okay. So first we will look at the grammar part, which is how we go ahead, right? So dehino asmin yatha. You have to break that up. What is that inverted S, the S looking thing? What is it called?
avagraha,
What does it mean?
half
Dropped.
Oh,
It has dropped.
The word avagraha means a ka grahanam ho chuka hai, isliye avagraha, which means the a has been swallowed up, and that is indicated by that S sign. So when we do the sandhi breakup, when we are breaking up the compound word, it will be dehinaha. The dehino is because of sandhi rules. When you break up the three, it becomes Dehinaha. Dehina plus, that is Dehina plus a Visarga. Dehinaha. And then Asmin Yatha. So Dehinaha Asmin Yatha. That is the breakup of that word. Then Dehe Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara. Tatha. Again, Deha Antara. So Deha Antara. Praptihi. You break it up over there. Dehantara Praptihi. Then Dhiraha. Dhiraha. Tatra. Na Mohyati. Dhiras. The half sa is again Sandhi. So you break that. Dhiraha. So that sa basically comes because the Visarga, the Dhiraha, the Visarga turns into sa, half sa. So when you break it up, the sa disappears and the Visarga comes back. So Dhiraha Tatra Mohyati. Okay, this is the breakup. I will request you to please mute yourselves. If you are saying something, it's okay, but immediately afterwards, you should mute yourself so that nobody is disturbed. The recording doesn't get disturbed. Then the Anvaya. What is Anvaya?
Order.
It is the prose order. So Anvaya is Dehinaha Yatha Asmin Dehe Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara. Yatha Asmin Dehe Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara, comma, Tatha Deha Antara Praptihi. So Deha Antara has to be broken up. Deha Antara Praptihi. Full stop. And then Tatra Dhiraha na Mohyati. Okay. So Dehinaha. Dehinaha, because of the Visarga, Dehinaha becomes the subject. Prathama Vibhakti. So it means, Dehinaha means for the one who has a Deham. Iska Deha hai. Dehina is for that person who has a body. The following lines are being said. That is being, the following lines are applicable for the one who has a body. Okay. Which means what? All Jivatmas. All Jivatmas have got physical bodies. And the Tatha in the second line has to be connected to Yatha in the first line. Tatha Yatha. So the Yatha means just like.
Yes.
Yatha. Let me just mute you all again. Somebody is unmuted us. Okay. Yatha Asmin Dehe. Just like in this body. Okay. Yatha Asmin Dehe. Asmin is this. Deham is body. Yatha Asmin Dehe. Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara. Just as this body passes through Kaumaram, childhood, Yauvanam, youth, Jara, old age. So there are three states through which the physical body passes: Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara. Just like this body passes through physical stages. And these stages are for whom? Dehinaha. Okay, that is how you connect. Yatha Asmin Dehe Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara. Just like this body passes through these three stages. And these three stages are for the Dehinaha. For the person who is in the body. The person who has the body is the person who is occupying the body. Dehinaha. Tatha. Similarly, Dehantara Praptihi. The acquisition of another body. So here you can see that it stops here, right? There are no verbs, there's no explanations. So this is typical of Sanskrit. The rest of the stuff you have to supply. So what does it mean? In this body, the person who is sitting in this body, he passes through different stages. And yet, I am the person who is sitting in the body, I the Jivatma, I am noticing these three stages. And therefore, similar to that, Dehantara Praptihi. This Jivatma gets another body also. The Jivatma is not affected because the body is passing through 3 stages, and I am watching the body is passing. I am watching the 3 stages of the body. So I, the Jivatma, am different from the physical body. I am not affected when the body passes through these changes in that manner. That all that tatha has to be understood as in that manner only. When the another body is acquired, dehantara prapti, you must understand that the one who is acquiring the body, the Jivatma, also is not affected. All that is read into that one word tatha. And therefore he says tatra. About this, about what? About these changes, dhiraha na mohyati, the wise person. So dhiraha here is not courageous, he is wise. The wise person, na mohyati, does not grieve, does not get concerned. Okay, this is the text of the verse. Now,
Please tell me the pronunciation of the
Mohyati.
last word.
It is a half a plus a full year. So mohyati,
And what's the meaning, please?
grief, moha. It's coming from the word moha, to be deluded.
It's half her.
Half a full year.
Okay.
So for those people who are used to Hindi, you may have some difficulties, but in the beginning only, right? Because very soon you'll get to, these compound words, they can be written separately also. But the script which is being used is, I think it's called Sanskrit 2003. So that because of that script, they are sort of merged into each other. If you use an older script while typing, you'll find that it breaks it into half and full year. Anyway, that's only but one must learn to recognize this because the merged scripts are what is most common.
Sharaji, what is the breakup of the word Dehantar Prapti?
Deha Antara Prapti. Deha is body, Antara is another, Prapti is acquisition. Okay. So, Krishna is saying that, look, I am the Atma. Where did he say that? In the previous verse. I am the Atma because I was there, I am now, I will be there. And I will continue to be. He said in the last verse. And he also said, Tvam. Tvam also. You also are the Atma. So all those, these words are all very critical verses. For each word, you have to understand what it means. So when he said that I am the Atma, that is acceptable to all of us. Like Ishvara is Atma, no problem. But when he said that you are the Atma also, then you have to understand that whatever he said about himself is also applicable to me. Right? If he is eternal, he said Tvam api, you also. And therefore I am also eternal. I am also Atma. So then a question can come up. I am eternal, right? But everybody says I was born and I will die. So if I am eternal, what is this birth and what is this death? What is meant by birth and what is meant by death? So this verse is addressing that question. What is meant by birth and death? And Krishna is saying that you, the Jivatma, occupy a physical body. And that physical body is the medium of your interaction with the world. Without the physical body, you cannot interact with anybody. You cannot talk to anybody. You cannot do anything. You cannot watch a movie. You cannot go and see flowers. For everything, you need a physical body. So to interact with this world, the physical body is a necessity. And birth and death are nothing but changing that medium of interaction with the world, which is what? Physical body. And the physical body being a tool of interaction, like any tool, a tool is subject to wear and tear. Now you buy, let us say you buy a screwdriver. After sufficient time of use, that screwdriver has to be thrown away and a new one purchased because it no longer does the purpose for which you purchased it. Similarly, this physical body is subject to wear and tear, and sooner or later will have to be changed. Like the dress which I wear. I buy a t-shirt, I use it for some time, it gets worn and torn and all that, and I throw it away, I buy a new t-shirt. So this is what is being mentioned, that you are not the t-shirt. You are not the physical body. And this is being conveyed over here. And therefore he's saying, what you call birth is the acquisition of a physical body. What you call death is throwing away that physical body. You are not that physical. Therefore, he says, Asmin Dehe, in this body, in this physical body. He talks about only 3 stages of experience, but we can supply a 4th one. So there are 4 states of experience. So Balyam, we have to supply. Balyam is the infanthood, childhood state. Kaumaram. Kaumaram is when you are a young boy or a young girl. Kaumaram. Kumar, Kumari, coming from there. Yauvanam, when you are a youngster. That can take you anywhere from 18 years up to 30, 35 years, whatever. Okay, so youngster, you are still youthful. After that, what happens? Jara. Jara is not the Hindi Jara. It is Jara mean old age. So he's making a point that each of these changes is an independent change, and I'll use the technical word Anyonya Vilakshanaha, mutually exclusive. Each stage exists by itself. You cannot have Balyam existing with Kaumara. You cannot have childhood existing with old age. So Balyam or Kaumaram cannot exist with Jara, which means they are all Anyonya Vilakshana, mutually exclusive. They cannot exist together.
Excuse me, what is the last one?
Jara, old age.
Jara. Thank you.
Jarayati gets old. Okay. Now, how do we explain this? Shankara himself explains in his commentary. This jiva does not pass through these avasthas. The jiva seemingly passes. He says, as if passes through these stages. And in the text, of course, we are using only Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara, these stages. So Kaumaram has to be understood as combination of childhood and this teenage. So childhood and teenage together are clubbed under Kaumaram. We can, for our understanding, break it up into Balyam and Kaumaram. So this Jivatma passes through these stages. And that word Eva, as if, is very important. Why? Because the changes belong to the Anatma, the body, and not to the Jivatma. What is the actual state of Jivatma? It is Nirvikara, Avikriya, Nirvikara. Shankara uses the word Avikriya. Vikriyam meaning changing, Avikriyam meaning not changing. The actual Jivatma does not change at all. It seemingly changes. Okay, now to understand this, let us take these stages. Well, let us take 3 stages for our convenience, right? Not the 4 stages. When you are a young lady or a young man, you have a name. Does that name change when you become a youth, when you become old? No. You refer to yourself as, I am so and so, as a teenager, as a child, as a middle-aged person, and as an old person also, you refer to yourself by that name only. You never say, I have changed. Even though there is no difference, I mean, there's a world of a difference between you when you were 7 years old and you when you were 70 years old. You can look at the photographs. You will never say that this is a different person. You always say, this is I. You understand what I'm saying? The I never changes. irrespective of what all changes you have gone through. Even if you have lost, let us say, one leg or one hand, that I does not change. You will not say, I am now 80% I, right? Even if you have lost two hands and one leg, you will still refer to yourself as I. So the I is obviously not a reference to the physical body. Your identity is not changed even when the body changes substantially, right? So I am the same when I was a child. I studied in school. I studied in college. I am now a youth. I am now an old man. There are continuous changes of your body. What is the constant factor? I. And science itself says every 7 to 10 years, the majority of the cells in your body are completely replaced. Okay. How many cells are there in your body? They are not even in millions, they are in trillions. And they are completely replaced. And therefore, what you say, my body, when you were 7 years old, is not your body when you are 70 years old. Because the components of the body have got completely replaced. It is no longer the same body. Cell by cell, the body is changing. And therefore, you do not feel the change. The body which you have today is completely different from the body which you had 10 years in terms of the individual cells. And because it is so slow, the change, I don't feel the change. But the fact remains that it is not the same body. And yet, I say I. For me, I don't feel the change at all. But even though the body has completely changed, I identify myself as the same person I was before. Earlier, I had a lot of hair. Now I have gray hair, white hair, or sometimes no hair at all. Earlier, I had 32 teeth. Now I may have only 5 of them. One kidney may have gone. One lung may have gone. The heart may have been replaced. Nothing is the same. But yet, what remains constant? That I remains constant. So that is what is being said in the first verse. However your body changes, you, the Jivatma, are the same. That's why he says, Dehinaha. For the person in the body, these are changes which he is seeing. And a little, introspection will make you understand what? That if you are a person who can say that something is changing, if you are the witness of changes, you are the unchanging one. Right? Is that understandable? That if I can say that things have changed around me, then there must be some witness who has been there during all the changes. And therefore, that witness is not changed at all. He is the changeless one. It's a very, very important concept. I hope that's clear, right? Because, for example, I'll give an example. Let us say there is a classroom where during the day there are 10 classes. And the teacher is there who is teaching all the 10 classes. In each class, different number of students come. 10 come in one class, 20 come in the third class, 100 come in the last class, 70 come in the middle class. And the teacher can, at the end of the day, say that there were 10 classes and in each class, there were a changing number of students. The teacher can say that because that teacher, he or she, was the same during all the classes. Only the unchanging entity can be a witness of changes. This is a fundamental Vedantic law. I hope it's clear. Only the unchanging entity can claim to be a witness of changes. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
True,
No
sir.
doubt about that?
No.
No doubt.
No.
Now Krishna says, okay, having understood this, this is as far as the current life is concerned, because you are having You're having the same changes in the physical body. The same physical body we are saying you're having changes. It is the same life, right? Now Krishna says, now extend it further. Having changed sufficiently, this body becomes useless for you. And therefore, you still have stock of karma, which you have to experience. And for experiencing the karma, you need another body. And therefore, you have to acquire another body. You have to replace this body with another one so that you can continue to experience karma, which you have built up. Therefore, he says, taha tatha antaradeha prapti. You have to acquire another body by getting rid of this useless one, because the useless one has outlived its utility. And therefore, bodies will come and bodies will go. But I, the Jivatma, I do not change. I am the one who is using those bodies. I am the witness of the bodies. And Shastra gives two examples. Space for one, Akasha. So whenever we say Akasha in Shastric discussions in this class, please remember it doesn't mean clouds. It doesn't mean sky. Akasha used for space only. Okay. So just like Akasha, in Akasha, in space, think about the city in which you are in over the last, say, 1,000 years. Different buildings have come and gone. Different walls have come and gone. The building in which you are today sitting did not exist 100 years back. Something else must have been there. Some other building must have been there. Some building may not have been there also. And therefore, in that space, in that Akasha, cities have come and gone. Buildings have come and gone. Walls have appeared and disappeared. But that space has not changed. The space is still the same. Because of the space, the buildings come and go. Right? Buildings can come and go only because of space. Without space, nothing can be there. So space is eternal. Buildings come and go. Cities come and go. Human beings come and go. And therefore, consciousness is like that space. Consciousness is called Chaitanyam. It is like that space. In that consciousness, that wall, that building which you call the body, that comes. And after some time, that body goes. But you, the Jivatma, are consciousness itself, or Chaitanyam itself. Because when you say Atma, automatically Chaitanyam is implied. Consciousness is implied. And you, that Jivatma, are consciousness similar to that space. Bodies will come and bodies will go. The understanding from here is that very critical difference now. Earlier you said that my Atma. You said that I have an Atma. Now what will you say?
I am Atma.
I have a body.
You will
Atma
say,
has the body.
I have several bodies. Because you are Atma. So a change in thinking is being brought about by Krishna. He is saying that it is not that you, Arjuna, have an Atma. Arjuna, you are the Atma. And in you, all these bodies have come and gone. All the bodies of the people who are there on the battlefield are in you. All the dead bodies which will be there after the battlefield, they are also in you. You are the Atma. Nothing can ever disturb that. And therefore he says, Dhiraha, Dhiraha, Tatraha, Namohyati. In that context, thinking of all those things, the wise person does not grieve. He does not give in to sorrow because he accepts that this body is a temporary medium. It will come, it will go. And therefore, Dhiraha means the wise person, the intelligent person, the one who has got Viveka, discriminative person. What happens to him? Namohyati. He is not deluded. And because he is not deluded, he is not subject to grief. Okay. So where is the proof? somebody might ask that I, the Jivatma, am not subject to change. And that is why he says, in these three states, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara, if Kaumaram had one Jivatma and Yauvanam had another Jivatma and Jara had a third Jivatma, what would be the problem?
They would not observe the change.
Yes, the Jivatma who is in Jara would not be able to talk about the Jivatma who was in Yauvanam. None of these Jivatmas would be able to talk about the other Jivatmas or the other changes because they themselves have changed. And therefore, if you have been able to talk about all these three changes, then you, the Jivatma, must be unchanging. So this is the learning from that verse. Okay. Somebody else might say, okay, for a Jnani, there will be no sorrow because he knows that Atma is eternal, right? Who is a Jnani? The Jnani is the person who understood that he is Nityam. And therefore he knows that he is not the body-mind complex. And therefore, when the body-mind complex dies or is injured, he is not affected. He does not have any sorrow because he knows that he can never die because he is Atma. But the question is, what about the Ajnani? Supposing the Ajnani does not believe in Atma, then can he not be subject to sorrow? Will he not be sorrowful and grieved? This is a possible question. Okay. And the next verse is the answer to that. So we will chant verse number 14. You can please unmute yourself. Matra sparshastu kaunteya. Itoshna sukha dukkadaha. Agama paino nityaha. Tam stitikshasva bharata. Okay, so I have again muted you all. And we will look at the words first. So, matra sparshastu. You break that into matra, sparshaha, and tu. Please don't unmute yourself. Matra, sparshaha, tu. Three words. That first word, matra, sparshastu, is broken into three words. Matra, sparshaha, tu. Kaunteya. Then Shitaha, Ushnaha, Sukhaha, Dukhaha, and Daha. All are different words. Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukha, Daha. That Daha is very important. So remember that. Then Agama and the Avagraha is dropped afterwards. So Agama, Apayinaha, Anityaha. So don't read it as Nitya. Agamaha, Apayinaha, Anityaha. That Tam, the Avagraha turns into the Na, Tan. Tan, Titikshasva. He Bharata. He Bharata. That is the word breakup. Okay, another very, very important verse. So the Anvaya is He Kaunteya Matra Sparshaha Tu Shita Ushna Sukha Dukha Daha, comma, Agama apayinaha anityaha, full stop. And therefore only tan titikshasva he Bharata. Now let's see what it means. He Kaunteya, son of Kunti. Kunti Putra is Kaunteya. Matra. Now I'll just give you the meaning here. And when we discuss, we'll look at how the meanings are arrived at, because that is the most important part. Matra means sense organs. Sparsha obviously means touch. So contacts. Shita Ushna. Shita is cold, Ushna is hot, that all of you all know. Sukha Dukha. Sukha is pleasure, Dukha is pain. Daha means the giver of. Daha is, the root daha means that which gives, the giver of. Agama, what comes. Apayinaha, what goes. Agama means coming, apayina means going. Anityaha means not eternal, temporary. Tan, tan means them. So this tan refers to all the experiences. I will explain. Titikshasva means endure, tolerate. Okay. Now, the Anvaya, we can break it up into two words. He Kaunteya, Matra Sparshaha tu Shitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha Agama Painaha Anityaha. So remember, the word tu in Sanskrit can mean but, can mean indeed also. It's contextual. Okay, so here it is meaning indeed. He Kaunteya, Matra Sparshaha. So Matra Sparshaha is contact of the sense organs with the sense objects. How we derive, we'll talk about it when we come to the actual discussion. Matra means sense organs. Sparshaha here has to be taken as sense objects. So contacts of the sense organs with the sense objects. What happens? Daha, they give rise to what? Shita Ushnaha, heat and cold, and Sukha Dukkaha, pleasure and pain. Okay. So he son of Kunti, he Kunti Putraha, Matra Sparshaha, Shitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha. Contact of the sense organs with the sense objects give rise to sensations of heat and cold and sorrow and pain. But Agama Apainaha, remember that they are coming and going, and therefore only Anityaha, they are temporary, they are not constant. What should you do? Tan, those sensations which are what? Heat and cold and pleasure and pain. Titikshasva he Bharata. You must learn to endure them. He Bharata. So Bharata means son of the Bharata race or descendant of the Bharata race, person who is born in the Bharata race. So what is Krishna saying here? Krishna is saying that I told you what is the nature of the Atma, right? But just as you have understood the nature of the Atma, you have to also understand and accept the nature of Anatma. So Atma has a particular nature, Anatma has a particular nature. You, the Jivatma, are a combination of both. And therefore, if you have to understand yourself, you have to understand Atma and Jivatma. And not only understand, you have to accept the nature of Atma and the nature of Jivatma. Because why do you have to accept the nature of something? When I say that somebody has a particular nature and you have to accept it, why do you have to accept it?
Not in
Because it won't
Because we
change,
can't
it's the
change
nature.
Because it is a
Because you have
nature.
no choice.
Nature itself means it cannot be changed. And what cannot be changed, you have to accept, right? So somebody says, why is it that nature cannot be changed? Very simple. The answer is that what cannot be changed is called the nature. So it's a chicken egg situation. You call as nature of a thing that about that thing which cannot be changed. For example, heat is the nature of fire. Whatever you do, you cannot change that. And that is why that which is consistently there in the fire is called nature of fire. What is the learning? As an intelligent person, you should understand that nature can never be changed. Any struggle to change the nature of something is a sheer waste of time. Why? Because by definition, it cannot be changed. So, hey Arjuna, instead of wasting your time trying to change the nature of something, struggling to change the nature of something, what is the only thing I can change? I can change my attitude towards that thing. Because the nature of something cannot be changed. The nature of the world, the Jagat cannot be changed. But definitely I can change my attitude towards the Jagat. To change the attitude means to accept the nature of Jagat. To change the attitude towards my body means I accept the Shadvikara nature of my body. The 6 changes which occur in my body, I accept. And this is the upasana, the meditation that all of us need to do. That we should accept what is the nature of the body. What is the nature of the body? It is born, it will grow old, it will die. Okay, that you have to know. And if you regularly meditate upon that, then that orientation that yes, the body will die one day, the body will be subject to problems, that will become natural to me. And remember that our problems are our problems mostly because we do not accept the nature of a thing, right? So when summer comes in Delhi, you will say, yes, hot, it's hot, it's hot. But it is summer in Delhi. What is the nature of summer in Delhi? It's going to be hot. And therefore, summer will be hot. So what should you do? You meditate upon the fact that Ishvara has given you the sun. That sun is 93 million miles away. Okay. 93 million miles away. And yet, you can fry an omelette on the road in the middle of summer in Delhi or in Ahmedabad. Imagine the heat from a sun, from an energy source, which is so far away from you. It gives you enough energy to tap. And it's permanent energy. It is there always. All you have to do is to tap it. While we, with all our advances in science, we are not able to find a source of energy like the sun, non-polluting. We are trying all kinds of fuel, but they all are being drawn up from the earth. And sooner or later, they will all dry up. Until then, we use it. But this Bhagavan's sun, it has lit up the whole earth. It gives you energy. It's free of cost. And it's been there for thousands and thousands of years. And it will be there for another 1,000 years. So let me learn to appreciate that, source of the sun. And when I am in the sunlight and the sweat comes, let me learn to appreciate that this is also another gift from the Lord. It is my internal natural thermostat. If the body will not sweat, it will be terrible for you. And therefore, sweating is another gift from the Lord. So change my attitude towards the heat of the sun. Change my attitude towards the sweating also. And similarly, change my attitudes towards some of the people around you. because you cannot change their nature. So slowly, this meditation I have to do. First, you take small things, this light, let us say, patch on the wall. Because somebody on the top used the toilet, there was some break in this flooring and the ceiling is slightly patched. So instead of shouting and screaming, accept, yes, it is there. So first you take small inert things. Then you take living beings. And the most difficult thing is to accept other living beings for what they are. And Krishna says, until you learn to accept, this problem will be there. The moment you begin to resist the facts, resistance to reality is always the foundation of sorrow. So matra sparshastu. Matra is from ma dhatu. Dhatu is ma, which means to know, to experience. And tra, the tra pratyaya, the tra suffix, indicates that it is an instrument. And therefore matra indicates the instrument for experience, which is what? What is the instrument
The
for
body.
experience?
Sense
Body.
organs.
Sense
Sense
organ.
organs.
You have to be more specific.
Body. Body.
Jnanendriyani.
Jnanendriyam.
Jnanendriyam.
So matra means jnanendriyani, instrument for experience. And then it is derived this way, ma dhatu plus tra pratyaya. That means the ma dhatu meaning to experience or to know. And tra is the suffix which indicates that's an instrument. And from here only we have got pramanam from ma dhatu. Pramanam, the source of knowledge. So matra is jnanendriya. Then sparshaha. How does sparshaha becomes sense object? Sprashyante. It is sparshaha. Sprashyante means that which is contact. So sparsha means samyoga, contact. And the matra, the jnanendriyas, they contact what? The indriya vishaya. Right? So here, sparshaha means indriya vishayaha, the objects of the sense organs. And Shankara here adds that you can derive the word sparshaha also to mean objects of contact. Shankara adds an additional explanation. Of course, you can derive saying that it is indriya vishaya. Also, you can say it is the object of the contact. Either way, the meaning is what? When the sense organs make contact with the sense objects, there are going to be some sensations. That is why it's called a sense, right? It gives you a sensation. So a sense object contacting a sense organ is going to give rise to sensation, which is the experience. There are some sense organs, jnanendriyas, which you can shut. The eyes, for example, you can close your eyes. But you cannot close your ears. You cannot close your nose. You cannot close the skin. You can, of course, choose not to taste by not bringing a tongue out. So two of them are subject to voluntary control. The other three will work as long as they are in working condition. And because they are working, the sense organs and the sense objects will necessarily have contact. And because you cannot avoid that contact, necessarily there will be sensations. There will be experiences, right? No human being can avoid interaction completely. You can perhaps become a yogi and go to the cave in the Himalayas. So you would have avoided the local road noise. All the screaming and shouting around you from other people you will avoid. But there also, there will be insects, there will be mosquitoes. Interaction will be there. You can never escape from the world anywhere. And therefore, trying to change the anatma is a futile exercise. Like trying to straighten a dog's tail. The dog's tail, 1,000 times you straighten it, the moment you let go, it will become round again. Anatma is the same. It has a nature. Whatever you do, that nature will not change. So says Krishna, hey Arjuna, what is the best method? Learn to live with the situation. Don't run away. And if you have to face the situation, Arjuna, you have to strengthen your mind. And therefore, Arjuna, accept the situation, because they will give you Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. Taha, they will definitely give you heat, cold, pleasure, and pain. These are opposite experiences. That's also here, Shita, Ushna, opposite. And they're called Dvandaha, dualities. Our whole life is a set of opposite experiences. When Manam comes, Apamanam comes also. When Samyoga comes, connection comes, Viyoga, disconnection also comes. When there is growth, there will be decay. When there is gain, there will be loss. Life is a series of opposites, a series of Dvandaha. This is the nature of Anatma. So, we'll stop here because we don't have time. We'll continue from here in the next class. Any questions are most welcome.
Sir, matra में आपने ma धातु कहा और tra means?
Tra is the pratyaya, the suffix which indicates that it is an instrument.
Instrument. And one more word I had missed out. Shankara used, you gave a word for mutually exclusive.
Anyonya. Anyonya is mutually.
Anyonya.
Pranam Rabiji, can I ask one question?
Yes, Manmohan, please.
Sir, you were telling many times that, okay, nature cannot be changed. And okay, I understood this part, that Sadvikara, we can't change. It will go through all these things naturally. But, of course, I will ask forgiveness if I hurt anyone by asking this question. For example, you are telling to accept the behavior of the human being or the person sitting behind you or whoever it is, because the nature cannot be changed. Now, suppose there are a few persons who are unmuting themselves. Even you are telling that don't unmute, you are doing, and this is happening almost every day. So why then are you doing this when you know that it's their nature, they're not? So am I putting the right question? I don't know even that.
So, okay. So let us say somebody is continuously unmuting.
Mhm.
And in spite of your saying that person is not changing, what are you going to do? You are going to mute yourself. You have, you have something in your hand which you can do, that you do. The idea is,
so then,
what you cannot change should not disturb your mind.
So is it like that I'm telling them to do, and so you have two options. You just do mute them, and you tell them not to unmute, as well as to use that mute option for you. Both the things you are doing. So I think the first option, that please don't unmute, it would disturb recording. So this is the thing. Is it not that we are not accepting their nature? And still we are telling them.
Even if you accept the nature, you can still say it, no? Because there is.
So what is the reason behind that?
The reason is you tell at least once, twice, 10 times, 20 times. Hopefully,
so
it will happen.
is it?
And remember that many times the unmuting happens without conscious volition.
Yes.
He may have touched the button somewhere. So it's not a blame game.
Okay.
You are doing what you can to control the situation. That is always you should be done. The fact that somebody is a particular nature is okay. But if you have something in your hand to control, you should. It doesn't give you the liberty to absolve yourself from all action by saying, yes, I am.
Okay, I was thinking just to accept and then don't say, okay, this is their nature. So I will just mute and then won't say anything to them. So you were saying, okay, tell them, but without getting disturbed.
Without getting disturbed, because it has to convey a message to everybody also, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
That means whatever can be changed.
Whatever can
that
be
is not
changed,
the nature.
changed.
That is not the nature.
That is not the nature.
Om Raviji, there is one question I want to ask. Say you're newly married, right? For example, so the wife is very nice and, So the same thing goes with a husband. Initially, just to get to know each other, they are in this process of impressing each other, being nice to each other and all that. But later, you'll really see the true nature of each other. It all happens with the friends also. So here, the true nature being hidden somewhere, but being a little bit pretentious just to get into a good understanding or whatever that is, a bonding. So what is the true nature here, and what is the attitude that we expect? I mean, the attitude we should have in order
Your
to.
thing should be very simple, like it's very practical thing. If the nature is such that it is interfering with your spiritual path, you should probably separate. If it is not, if it is just something irritating you, that is your problem, not his. Irritation occurs in your mind, not in his mind. And therefore, instead of saying that he is irritating me, you should say that I am allowing myself to get irritated, which changes the focus onto yourself. And therefore, the work is done by you, not by him.
So you mean to say, so 2 years ago, if say my husband was saying different things and doing different things, and 2 years later, he's doing something else. So how should we, with what attitude should we look at it?
It's difficult to, give a general reply on this. You'll have to specify, but don't do it here.
Yeah, sure. It's, yeah.
Yeah, because in a public forum, it's probably not. General rule can be that your attitude should be to remain undisturbed. And sometimes it is not possible, especially if the partner is somebody who is not at all supportive of what you are doing and constantly criticizing you. In that case, you have to evaluate your priorities. Okay, do I want to spend my life this way? It's perfectly okay to say, yes, I don't want to. In fact, among my students, there have been several people who have separated simply because there was no compatibility. That is why whenever somebody asks me, I'm about to get married, I ask only one question. Is he going to be supportive of your Vedantic study? If he is not, and you are serious about it, then you should not marry. Because the person who is...
What if you...
Yeah, tell me.
What if you really are close to this person? What if you really want this person in your life?
Then you are confused. Because how can you be close to a person who does not value what you do? My respect for a person has to be mutual. He has to respect what I do. And if it's not there, your whole life is going to be a battle.
Okay.
There are no simple answers, Mangala. We'll have to discuss this in detail.
Yeah. Options are available.
Vijay, in the last verse, who is being referred to as Bharata?
Arjuna, obviously. He's
Okay,
from the Bharata race.
Yeah, and in verse, I think 10, Bharata is Dhritarashtra, right? Tamo Vacha Rishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata.
No. Where is it? Which verse are you talking about?
So chapter 2, 10, I think. 10.
Verse number 10.
Tamo Vacha Rishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata.
There it is, Dhritarashtra.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying contextually, you have to be very alert. So that's why you need a teacher. That's why you can't just read the thing.
All come under Bharat Vansh.
Bharat Vansh. It's not Bharat Vansh. There was a whole race, no? The Surya race was there. That's the Bharata race, the one who were descendants of the Surya Bhagavan. So that's why the entire race is referred to as Bharatas. That is why we are called Bharat. The country is Bharat because of that only.
Sir, may I also ask one question?
Yes, please. Last one.
Sir, The thing is, I'm still, I asked you before also, and I'm still confused as to exactly Atma is a part of God, or it is a Paramatma, or it is not. It's a separate entity.
No, I think you let's just wait till we finish up to verse number 25. Then you ask the question again.
Okay.
Okay. So with this, we'll stop. Let us do the prayers. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah
Thank you,
Shivaya.
sir.
Thank you for
Om
your
Namah
patience,
Shivaya.
guys.
Thank you so much.